Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk more about Canada, high school students, boarding schools, and I will do this with a wonderful guest, which is Mr. Dave Crockett, head of Rosseau Lake School. Hi Dave, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Would you like to introduce a little bit about, say a little bit about your school, where it's located? I mean, the basics.
Sure. One of the things about Rosseau Lake College is we are blessed with a beautiful campus. It is a 56-acre forest campus on Lake Rosseau, which is in a lovely area called Muskoka. We have about 3,000 feet of shoreline on a stunning lake. And Rosseau is in a small village, which is about 2.5 hours north of Toronto in Northern Ontario.
Yeah. And then, yeah, you're right. Like the location is wonderful. I've been there. Was that 2 years ago, maybe? That
Yes.
was amazing. Uh,
Yeah, sorry, and I was just going to say one of the unique features about our campus is its location. And with that location becomes obviously the natural environment, which is very unique and unparalleled, and a high degree of safety that we're away from the city where there's any sort of crime or problems. And here our students get to enjoy a high degree of safety, which is really important.
yeah. And also, I suppose they also benefit of the fact that they can focus on whatever they do, study, activities, time off, mobile phones probably, and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. There's a high degree of personal wellness that occurs here because it is therapeutic to be surrounded by the forest. And like you say, there's no distractions of pollution or violence or traffic. Here they can focus on their health and their academics and their relationships in the community.
Yeah. What I remember when I visited the school, for example, there was a teacher, and I don't remember honestly the subject that we went into the little what the wood we have around, and we did some outdoor activities, meaning like some didactic outdoor activities. So I understand that outdoor classes, outdoor, not just sports, but like the outdoor education, as they call it, it's part of the school itself. I would like you to tell me a little bit more about this.
Absolutely, Antonella, and you are correct. That is a really important part of who we are. We understand that the natural environment offers an amazing opportunity for students to connect with the natural world, but also to connect various areas of curriculum, whether it's biology or chemistry or physics, social sciences, languages that we know encompassed or immersed in a natural environment. New and exciting connections can be made between the subject matter and the person involved. We know also from the neuroscience and the way that the brain operates is that a sense of calm and a sense of what we call being grounded allows the brain to operate at a much higher capacity and therefore able to have increased focus and academic abilities.
Is that, what is this? I mean, you're free not to answer, but is that, as you think, as you know, also helping students, which are teenagers usually in this case, being more focused and aware about like emotions, like it helps building
Mhm.
emotional intelligence with a little bit of help from the school, I would say.
Absolutely. You are very correct that one of the major benefits we also see in an outdoor environment and a very safe and inclusive community is exactly that, that a lot of the anxiety that we're noticing in the current generation of our students dissipates once they are in a very safe environment like Rosseau Lake College. And I think that is a major reason why many families have discovered our school and love it.
Yeah, I've seen, well, when we come there, there was like lots of like local Canadian families, not just international students. So even the local families understand that I mean, it's important, especially maybe for some students, to be outside of the crowd, outside of the noise and terrible, terrible traffic and everything else that, I mean, big cities have. Um,
Absolutely.
um, Oh, there was also something that I remember from my visit, which is in my memory is something called kind of circle meetings. Like I remember students meeting in the afternoon, like when I came outdoor, like sitting in a circle, also staff sitting in a circle to discuss and talk about, I don't know what, to be honest, I don't remember that. But I understood that it's part also of your pedagogy or the way you deal with the academic. Can you also tell me something about this?
Sure. One of the things we believe in is that when we meet or gather, whether it's for assembly or a topic of learning in in a particular course, or when we are having small breakout opportunities, we really believe in the functionality of a circle because what it does is it creates a sense of unity and a sense that everybody is together and connected. Um, it's really important that we understand that in an environment like this, there is a high degree of relationship building, and the circle truly facilitates that it's non-hierarchical, that we're together. And again, I use that word unified. And I think that's a key part of us is that sense of unity and community.
Does it comes from any, oh, I mean, it was always there in your school, something which was introduced in recent years. How did you came to this model?
This model has been around at the school, I would say, for a better part of 15 to 18 years. And the reason is a key part of our school is what we call the seven generations work.
Mhm.
And the seven generations work is based on an indigenous philosophy from the Anishinaabeg people, which are the first inhabitants of this area of Canada. And we use a lot of their values in our teachings, values like love, humility, respect, kindness. And what we appreciate about these is that we feel they're universal and they're transferable across all cultures and places. And that is where the essence of the circle came from and one of the teachings we believe in.
Um, in Italy, I think in Europe as well, in general, there's a bit of conversation at business level, I would say, business and school level, about how schools must or should kind of improving not just knowledge, but like life and soft skills, as they call it. It depends on who you ask to. So those which are transferable to like the work environment, university life, basically. And I mean, I strongly believe I've seen over the years that boarding schools do in a different way a good job anyway. I mean, like they do in different ways, everyone a very good job in this. So how do you feel and how have you seen that your school is has been preparing students to build this kind of competencies or skills?
In the boarding environment.
Yeah.
You, yeah, absolutely. I think that's a key point, Antonella. The boarding environment, especially in a smaller scale school like Rosseau Lake College, allows students to really gain a stronger sense of independence. And with that grows and develops their sense of confidence. And from there, they're more able and quickly jumping into building new relationships with either students or staff and ultimately themselves, that they gain a clear understanding of what their personal values are and a direction that they'd like to really achieve in life. And it's very cute, actually. As soon as the first break happens, the Thanksgiving or November break, many families say, as their student came home after their first 6, 7 weeks at boarding, they are making their bed back at home. They're helping pick up dishes in the kitchen. The parents are like, "Oh my goodness, what has happened to my child?"
Someone
And
told me the same, yes.
we love that, and I think that's really important. And you know, we talk about this all the time as parents and as educators. These are those life skills that we want to see in the young generation as well, and how to live with others, how to contribute to an environment, whether it's in a home or in a local community. So we really enjoy it, and I think it's great to see that growth in the students.
It's a mixture of There is me in the sense that yes, you have to study, you have to take care of your project, which would be like passing the exam, studying, etc. But there's also us, like kind of me and us. So they're not just on their own, and there's also the people that they have to take care of, adults like staff, teachers, yourself, and the other peers. I think about boarding schools and that, I mean, the model in terms of boarding schools, which we don't have in Italy, is really like working very well in this. So that's the things that you said, like there was someone else I interviewed from another school, other country was the UK, and they said the same, family calling him and say, what have you done to my daughter? In the sense that they wouldn't recognize that because immediately she was like, oh mom, do you need anything? Or now can I help you? And never done it before. So it
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
yes. Um, in terms of like, let's say, okay, we're talking to prospective families and students. And again, as I said, we don't have boarding schools in Italy. And sometimes the idea of course, well, traveling to another country, that's something. Then traveling to another country and going not in, let's say, Toronto or Montreal or some huge cities, but in the outskirts of the city. And in your case, it's like 1 hour or something from Toronto, for what I remember.
It's about 2.5 hours north of Toronto.
They might be concerned about being too isolated, bored, or like how is the week going on? Which is the schedule, the typical schedule, or what they do in the weekend? Something like this would be really nice to hear.
Absolutely. And the interesting thing is, our students don't complain about being bored. They complain sometimes about being exhausted, that there's so many things to do,
Okay.
which I say again, as a parent and an educator, is a wonderful problem to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a typical week is that from Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30, the students are engaged in their academics all day, and then they have co-curricular programming, their sports, their clubs after school until about 4:30, 5 o'clock. The boarding students would then have a chance to shower, to rest in their house, and then dinner starts at 6 o'clock. After dinner, there is some free time for the students to socialize, and then there's mandatory prep where the students must be in an academic space and working for an hour on assignments and homework. There are teachers and mentors that are working with the students to provide any assistance or support they need for their academics, which is wonderful. At that time into the evening, from 8:30 to 9:30, the students are able to have recreation time. They can go into a beautiful new recreation center for badminton, basketball, volleyball, strength and conditioning, yoga, Pilates, dance. There's so many options. They are able to access the outdoor campus if they want to hike or walk in the woods or with their friends. All those options. And then they go to bed shortly after 10:30. On the weekends, we have a huge variety and menu of options that the students can choose from. We are next to the village of Rosseau, which has a few shops and stores that they like to access. And then we're about 30 minutes away from three small cities, Huntsville, Bracebridge, and Parry Sound. And there are movie theaters, bowling alleys, a variety of different activities, shopping, restaurants that the students like to go to. We provide some transportation for them, and they can go to those on the weekend. Some students also like to go to Toronto, and there are transportation options that the students can choose to go to Toronto for the weekend if they wish. And so we offer different sports, clubs, arts and craft programs, art programs, everything you could imagine on the weekends that the students sign up for. So I can honestly say there's never a shortage of options for the students to be engaged in.
And also those activities are really important to build those skills I was talking about, like not just studying, but even trying to do things you never done, sports you never tried, because if you fail, it's still fine, never mind, which is something I try to encourage my students to do, but sometimes they are shy about that. Um,
Sure.
Yeah. What do you notice in terms of international students that it's the most challenging habits to acquire? What I mean is like different students, different countries they come from, so that they might have different habits in the way they talk to teachers or the way they are allowed or not allowed to ask questions. Do you see it takes some time to adapt to the new way of doing this kind of like academic and anything else?
Oh, yeah, no, it's an excellent question. I feel the greatest adjustment for some international students is the fact, and it's a positive one though, which is interesting. They comment that the teachers here aren't, quote, mean, that they listen to them. They actually invite and like to answer questions. I have some students, and I don't want to say any countries in specific because that might appear to be rude, but I'm also very well traveled and I've worked in a lot of different countries and different education systems. And our approach here is that the student voice is very important. The student opinion is very important. They're supposed to be listened to. Their questions are encouraged. Um, we actually expect students to be asking questions. And so I think that's one of the biggest adjustments that students find. Again, though, it's a very positive one where they feel that they have a sense of belonging and that their opinion matters. And that things like projects have a lot of creativity and flexibility to them for the students to express and to demonstrate their interests and passions for learning. And I think that's a little bit of an adjustment, that it isn't prescriptive, that we really like the student to be a co-member of the learning process.
Yeah. I noticed with, in my case, it would be Italian students who I'm allowed to make enemies around teachers, no, no worries. Our approach to school is very traditional. So like 30 students in a class, this teacher just explain things and you do your test and you basically have to check if they learned the knowledge, but they learned the lessons. Uh, some teachers are welcoming and they're nice and they do their best. Some teachers are very traditional, kind of, I am the teacher, you are the student. So no, there's no like same level relationship that you said before. And so for my students, most of the time, the difficulty when they go to countries like Canada, UK, and so on, in boarding schools, they have really difficulty into like raising your hand and say, I didn't understand, or can I say my opinion, or even if they're asked, they're really concerned about what if I don't know, I show that I didn't understand. So it happens that teachers might think they don't want to participate, but actually they would like to, but they don't know if they're allowed. So it's always and probably that's what you were referring to. Maybe it's not just Italy, probably. I mean the kind of educational system.
Yeah, no, I think you've stated that very accurately, Antonella. I would agree with you.
Um, which is well, it's difficult always to say that, but have you seen there is a most suitable type of student for your school, or better? Which kind of expectations a student should have in order to, to be one for the other one, the best fit of the school, and the school the best fit for the student.
I think the students that are most successful here are students that come in with an open mindset, that they're willing to try everything, that we have a wonderful sailing program. And if you were like, well, I've never tried sailing before, our response is that's perfect. What a great opportunity to try it and learn a new skill. Rock climbing or snowshoeing or canoeing, whitewater kayaking, all of these great adventures are here for students. So the student that is really willing to come and try to learn new things and have a high degree of enjoyment, I think are the most successful. To me, that's the real key piece. And the other thing that I always say that is an expectation for me that is absolutely required and fundamental is for students that are kind, students that have a high degree of compassion, and are very caring human beings that really value the importance of interpersonal relationships and themselves. Because again, that's a real focal point of ours, are strong values and strong relationships in a community. And I think those are the students that are successful here.
Yeah, well, I can understand because what I remember the school is also this very kind and welcoming atmosphere. I mean, like you could easily feel that, okay, I'm here. Can I stay here? And like, I mean, you can, you are a guest, but you can feel welcomed by everyone, really, like teachers, yourself, the students. So I agree. I understand what you're saying because I had the fortune to visit the school. The last question is a big one again. And yeah, is this like, okay, I think we are living very interesting years, and I wouldn't say just this month, just interesting years, and it's a very unsettling times, and also there are lots of online schools opportunities, especially for international programs. There's AI taking place, and so on. So parents might take the idea that it's safer to stay home, it doesn't make sense to go abroad, and so on. So why do you think it's still worth to invest in international education? So like in study abroad, whatever would be Canada, your school, one other country. So like literally international education in Paris.
Absolutely. Oh, it's a wonderful question. For me, the world, more than ever in history, requires global citizens, students that are aware of the different cultural nuances, how people in different geographic locations and cultures and traditions operate. Because ultimately, as somebody, again, that's been very privileged to have traveled and worked across the world, that is where a high degree of empathy, compassion, and understanding comes from. That eliminates racial bias, misunderstandings, and neglect of other people. I feel that it amplifies a person's appreciation for the natural world. It amplifies a person's awareness and comfort with people that have differences, that come from a different background. And I feel, and this sounds very, quite romantic and nostalgic, but I think that's how we have a more peaceful world. I think that's how we can resolve conflicts, is through shared understanding and mutual respect. And in my humble opinion, that only comes from the opportunity to travel and to live in new cultures and experience different places and people.
Yeah, because it's like the more people you see different from the ones you're used to, the more you start thinking, oh, that country, that people, they're not the way I thought. They were like myself and you, like, mm, they are teenagers like myself. It was a nice thing that a girl many years ago, after a year abroad, said, it was like, I understood that teenagers are teenagers everywhere, which was uh, at first it sounded to me very superficial, but honestly it wasn't, because it was like, okay, so I understood that even very far away, we are all teenagers, and we have the same questions, the same wonders, the same also moments of craziness, whatever it was. But I found it was a very interesting like summary of an experience abroad. And I agree that probably most of the issues that we have today are made of lack of internal understanding and external understanding. So, like lack of emotional intelligence, as they called it, and so empathy. You're right. Because, I mean, empathy is important. It's not weakness. It's really like what it makes everyone stronger, actually. So, yeah, I
And yes, exactly, Antonella. And the only thing I would add is that from a business standpoint, we know that companies and organizations are increasingly looking for culturally aware and sensitive individuals. And that again increases your capacity to problem solve, to work with a variety of different people in a collaborative space at work. So there's a lot of those hard and soft skills that having the opportunity to attend a boarding school in a different country provides you with, that is also what, like I said, current and future employers, universities, programs are looking for.
yeah, I agree. That was really the end of my questions, but I'm open if you want to, if you feel like there's something important that you wish to share with, I don't know, possible students and families mostly, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel, one of the reasons a family would choose Rosseau Lake College is that they really want an environment for their student where they are cared for, they're heard, and they have a strong sense of belonging. They know that they'll have a high degree of safety, both emotional and physical, and that they absolutely trust that they're going to get a world-class education. Our academic program is absolutely outstanding. And when the student graduates from Rosseau Lake College, they are now equipped with the skills and attributes to be successful in any university or program across the world. We have students that attend major universities and programs here in Canada, the US, Australia, Europe, and even Asia. So I feel it is an incredible opportunity while gathering and experiencing a true quintessential Canadian experience along the way. And that's a place where they make friends for life, and that network extends far beyond their years here at Rosseau Lake College. And I just wanted to say that it's an absolute honor and privilege working with you, Antonella, and for potentially meeting some prospective parents and students.
And well, thank you very much for joining me into this conversation. I know you are very busy, and it's like, well, boarding school days are always busy, as I said, for staff and students. So I understand that. And thank you very much also for not just for the insight about the schools, but also for sharing a little bit more about, like the pedagogical approach and the values really of the school. Because I think values behind the school are the ones that make a school stand out and being the right one or not the right ones for families. So it's not just school and the high school curriculum. It's really more than that. So thank you very much for letting me diving into that and knowing more than this. So
It's my
thank you very much. And for everyone else, next video will be coming soon and see you soon. Thank you.